and welcome to this week's edition of SportsZone. We're going to start off with the good stuff, Studio 90, talk about this week in the world of soccer. I'm joined by Daniel, as usual. We're going to start off by discussing the Champions League, and the biggest matchup in the Champions League, I guess it was a couple weeks ago, was when Barcelona took on Tottenham. Great game. Messi looked unbelievable. So, Daniel, I'll start off with asking you, Messi was just unbelievable this game, and the talk after the game was really all about Messi and how this performance maybe cemented the fact that he's the best player of all time. Do you agree with this sentiment?
I don't think that this performance, cemented him as the best ever, because I think even if he didn't play this game, he's the best ever. But what I watched from Messi this game was incredible touch, which we've grown very used to from him. He was involved in all of the goals. He had a brilliant through ball over the top that resulted to one of the goals. He had a first touch goal to the bottom corner, and then he also scored at the end of the game. He also hit the post twice, so who knows? He could have technically scored 4 goals. Maybe the game would have played out differently, so maybe not necessarily 4. And then he was also involved in another brilliant goal with an excellent through ball right at the beginning of the game. So all in all, Tottenham tried their best. They didn't have their whole lineup. They had guys injured such as Eriksen and Dele Alli, so that definitely hurt. But I think regardless, I don't think they quite had what it took to beat Barca. But I think maybe at best they could have tied them if they had all their pieces.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned Messi had an all-time performance. Could have scored 4 goals that you mentioned. He just continues to amaze, and it's amazing how he wasn't listed as one of those players in the FIFA Best Player
It's
award.
voter fatigue. What else can I say?
Yeah, it's really crazy. And we'll talk about the other team, Tottenham, losing again in the Champions League. They lost their last matchup to Inter. And in this tough group, Daniel, do you think they'll be able to make it out of the group?
I don't. I think they've dug themselves in a tough hole. They're 6 points down to Inter and Barca. They're basically going to have to win out in order to make it to the next round. And, they've had some pretty deflating losses. Their loss against Inter was incredibly unfortunate for them. They were up 1-0 all the way up until the 85th minute or so. Icardi scores a volley from outside the box. That was incredible. Then they score a header in stoppage time to win the game. And Tottenham loses 2-1. But I think even if they don't make it past the group stage, they should be happy with the third-place finish in this really tough group. I mean, maybe they're more talented than Inter, but I think they have a real shot at winning the Europa League. And maybe they'll face up in later rounds against inner-city rivals like Chelsea and Arsenal, who are in the Europa League right now. We'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough for Tottenham to come out of this group with both Barcelona and Inter Milan. And Tottenham, who have done well domestically in the past, haven't really been able to replicate in the Champions League. So we'll see how it moves forward from there. Another English team in the Champions League this year, Liverpool, obviously, who made it to the final last year. They ended up losing 1-0 to Napoli. They are also in a very tough group with both PSG and Napoli, even though they beat PSG in their first matchup. So this win by Napoli really brought the group. This group is really wide open right now. So who do you see being the 2 teams that are going to be able to make it out of what could be considered to be the group of death?
So I have PSG actually coming in first, despite their loss to Liverpool on the road in the first opener of the Champions League. And then I've got Liverpool coming in second. Napoli, they tied their first game in the Champions League. That kind of hurt. Yeah, beating Liverpool did help, but I don't think they have the talent to beat both PSG and Liverpool on the road. Liverpool, they had a bad game, I'll admit. They weren't creating many chances. Napoli scored a last-minute goal, and Insigne scored off a beautiful pass from Callejon. And I think it'll be interesting to see how this group plays out. It's probably the most compelling out of all the Champions League groups. And I'm personally really looking forward to the next time PSG play Liverpool. Those are 2 top-tier clubs, and you normally don't see such high-level teams play in the group very often. Normally maybe in one group that's the case, but that's about it.
Yeah, this is definitely a top-tier group, especially the fact that both PSG and Liverpool are really attacking teams, and that makes for a great matchup. So we'll see how that group pans out, but I would tend to agree that PSG and Liverpool are going to be the teams moving to the next round. But we'll talk about Liverpool again, but this time domestically. They tied Manchester City 0-0 this weekend. Kind of a boring game. We expected more goals considering both teams are very attacking teams, but it ended up being 0-0. Manchester City missed a penalty in the 85th minute. Riyad Mahrez taking the ball away from forward Gabriel Jesus to take the penalty, skies it over the bar. So, Daniel, what did you make of this move by Mahrez to take away the penalty from Jesus, and do you think that this was warranted?
I gotta say, this guy's not going to be taking penalties for City ever again, unless it's, like a final or a Champions League game of some sorts where, you have to kick 5. I think Pep Guardiola probably regretted taking out Sergio Aguero out because he's really reliable from the penalty spot, and I think he would have made it. So, yeah, they did drop 2 points that game, but let's be honest, they're the deepest, the best team in the Premier League. It's their league to lose. And they kind of outplayed Liverpool on the road. We'll see how the season plays out.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Definitely Manchester City, the deepest team. You even look at that bench, Gabriel Jesus coming off the bench, which is crazy considering he's really a really great young world-class striker. So we'll see how the Premier League moves on going forward. But another team in the Premier League, the other side of Manchester United, in turmoil. The reports came out that Jose Mourinho was going to be fired regardless of the result, but they ended up squeaking away from the game with 3 points, beating Newcastle 3-2. So, Daniel, do you think this result is going to save Jose Mourinho's job, or do you think he's pretty much doomed at this point?
He'll save his job for another couple weeks, but I don't think he's going to be, with United for the next several years, unless they just go on a hot streak and somehow make a top 4, which I don't see happening. Alexis Sanchez finally got a goal to win the game. Maybe if he sort of replicates his level for Arsenal, then we're going to be seeing a different United team. But there's just so much locker room turmoil that I don't think it's good for Paul Pogba and Jose Mourinho to be in the same place. And let's be honest, they should have lost this game. They were down 2-0. And the ref made a major mistake. He should have called a penalty against United, making, Newcastle potentially going up 3-0 right there. And you don't want that, against Newcastle, conceding all these goals. So Mourinho did want defenders, from management to sign defenders. And they didn't really get any new defenders. So I kind of feel bad about that. But at the end of the day, you're the manager. You got to have more cohesiveness with your team,
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely really no excuses for Jose Mourinho. With the amount of money Manchester United have spent over the past few years, he definitely should be making more with this team. But for now, I think this result is going to save his job. But I don't know. I can't see him making it past January with this Manchester United team, but we'll wait and see what happens there. So we'll shift over lastly. We'll talk about La Liga and a little bit of a shift in La Liga this season. Usually we're used to seeing either Real Madrid or Barcelona at the top of the table, but right now Sevilla are actually at the top of the table. Real Madrid have lost, I believe it's 3 consecutive games in all competitions. So Daniel, I'll ask a couple questions. Number one, what do you think is Real Madrid's number one problem, and do you think Sevilla has a chance to actually win this league?
So first of all, I think we all know what Real Madrid's problem is. They don't have Cristiano Ronaldo anymore. I mean, this is a guy who he scored 40 to 50 to 60 goals in his sleep every season, and now they lost that player, and they didn't really replace him with anybody who's a goal-scoring threat anywhere near his level. I mean, there were rumors they were going to sign Neymar. That didn't happen. Rumors of Mbappe. So they're having trouble scoring goals, clearly, They're not playing too well. They also lost in the Champions League. Barca is the more surprising team to me. I expect them to be doing better. High expectations. I think they'll figure it out, win the league. Barca and Sevilla, they're playing, right? But let's be real. I think Barca is going to win this game, and I'll be surprised if they even tie this weekend. Sevilla, I don't really think has a real shot at winning this league. Maybe they can place second or third, though.
Yeah. Even though they don't have a shot at winning the league, it's still good to see another team being at the top of the table other than Real Madrid and Barcelona, which is what we're used to seeing. But I think that's all we have for this week's edition of Studio 90, and more Sports Zone after this.